Walter Chrysler was a remarkable man who had a great love for machines. He played a very important part in the history of the automobile. He helped change how people in America could travel and move around. This is the story of his life, starting from when he was a young boy. Walter was born in the year 1875. He grew up in Kansas, in a place that was called the American frontier. Life on the frontier was often simple and demanded hard work. It was a time when America was still growing towards the West, with large areas of open land. People who lived there needed to be strong and smart to make a living. His family had come to America from Germany many years before Walter was born. His father, Henry Chrysler, had a job that was very important at that time. He was a railroad engineer. This meant he drove the large, powerful steam locomotives that pulled trains across the country. The railroad was key to connecting different parts of America, moving people and goods over long distances faster than ever before. Living near the railroad in a town called Ellis, Kansas, meant that young Walter saw these impressive machines all the time. He was not just a casual observer. From a very early age, Walter showed a deep and strong interest in how things worked. He was fascinated by the trains his father worked on. He wanted to understand what was inside the engines, how the steam made the wheels turn, and how all the parts fit together and moved. This early interest was more than just a simple childhood curiosity. It was a real talent and a passion for mechanical things. He liked to take apart simple objects and learn their secrets. This fascination with machines was the beginning of his journey. It helped him develop the skills he would need later in life. His background, growing up in the practical world of the American frontier, near the powerful machines of the railroad, gave him a unique start. His father's work showed him the importance of understanding complex machinery. This early life experience and his natural talent for mechanics prepared him. It set the stage for him to become a great inventor, a smart businessman, and a leader who would build a famous company in the world of cars. Walter Chrysler's path from a boy who loved trains to one of the most important figures in the automobile industry began right here, on the plains of Kansas. Walter learns about trains. Walter Chrysler lived in Ellis, Kansas. This town was a busy place because of the Union Pacific Railroad. Walter saw trains every day. He loved the sound and power of the big machines. His father worked on the railroad and Walter wanted to work there too. When Walter was 17 years old, he got his first job. He worked at the Union Pacific train shops in Ellis. His job was to sweep the floors. It was a simple job, but it let him be close to the trains he loved. He watched the mechanics work. He asked questions about the engines and parts. He had a big dream. He wanted to be a machinist. After 6 months of sweeping, Walter started a 4-year apprenticeship. This was a hard way to learn the job, but it taught him everything. He studied books and magazines about machines. He learned by doing. Walter needed tools for his work. Good tools were expensive, and Walter did not have much money. So Walter made his own tools. He made tools like measuring instruments with his own hands. They were very good tools. Walter worked hard and became a skilled mechanic. He wanted to learn more. He moved to different towns to work on other railroads. He worked in different states like Kansas, Wyoming, and Utah. Every job taught him something new about trains and engines. He saw different shops and learned different ways to fix machines. He was a good worker and learned quickly. Soon, Walter became a foreman. This was his first time being a boss. He was in charge of many men. He learned how to manage people and keep the train shops running well. As he moved up, he became a master mechanic. This was a big job. He was responsible for hundreds of men and many miles of track. Walter was learning about big machines and how to lead many people. The railroad was his school, teaching him lessons he would use for his whole life. 3. The first cars. Walter Chrysler visited the city of Chicago in 1908. He went to a special show for new machines called automobiles. He saw a car there that was truly amazing to him. It was a white car, a touring car, made by a company called Locomotive. This car cost $5,000. That was a lot of money, maybe more than many people made in a year. Walter did not have that much money saved. From his railroad work, he had only about $700, but he felt he had to have that car. He was not thinking about driving it on trips. He wanted to learn its secrets. He wanted to know how this new machine was put together and how it ran. He needed to borrow a lot of money. He found a banker, Ralph Van Vechten, and a friend, Bill Cossey, who helped him. He borrowed $4,300, a very big loan for him. Then Walter bought the white Locomobile car. He took the car back to his home in Olween, Iowa. For many months, Walter spent almost all his free time in his barn. He worked carefully, taking the car completely apart. He studied every part from the engine cylinders to the smallest bolts. He wanted to understand every detail of this new machine. He put it back together again, then maybe took it apart again. This long process of studying the Locomobile taught him much about how cars were designed and built. It was like a school for him. After a while, Walter decided to leave the railroad business where he had worked for many years. He was ready for a new challenge. He got a job at the American Locomotive Company, or ALCO. ALCO was a large factory that made big engines for trains. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Walter worked as a superintendent, helping to run the factory. He used his skills in mechanics and organization to make the production of train engines better and faster. He learned a lot about large-scale manufacturing. Then, an important man noticed Walter's skills. His name was James Storrow. Mr. Storrow was a successful banker and was also involved with the large company called General Motors, which owned car brands like Buick. General Motors, especially Buick, needed strong leaders in their factories. Mr. Storrow saw that Walter was excellent at managing production and understanding machines. So James Storrow offered Walter a key job at the Buick Car Company. This offer was a very big change for Walter. It meant leaving the world of trains forever and starting a new adventure in the fast-growing automobile industry. This was the beginning of his important work with cars. 4. Working at Buick. Walter Chrysler began working at the Buick Car Company in Flint, Michigan in 1912. He was the works manager there. Buick was part of General Motors, or GM. At this time, GM was managed by bankers. The head of Buick was Charles W. Nash. Walter was 36 years old and ready for a big new job. He took a lower salary at first, but he wanted this new challenge in the car business. When Walter came to Buick, he saw that the way cars were made was not very orderly. Things were disorganized. Walter quickly started to make changes. He set up clear plans for how much things cost and how much work each part needed. He made building the car chassis simpler. He started a system where the car frames moved along tracks and workers put parts on them. This was a step towards making cars on a moving line, similar to ideas used in other factories. Walter thought his system at Buick was very important for building cars faster. Walter also helped make the Buick cars better. He worked on improving the engines. Buick started using its first six-cylinder engine in 1914. A very important change was adding the electric self-starter system from Delco. Before this, starting a car engine was hard work with a hand crank. The self-starter made it easy, and more people, especially women, could now drive cars easily. This helped Buick sell many more cars. Walter was good at finding talented people and building a strong team. People like Harry H. Bassett and K.T. Keller worked with him. Walter pushed his team and the companies that sold parts to Buick to make better tools and materials. The Buick factory in Flint became very large and made almost all car parts there to control quality. Around 1915, Billy Durant returned and took control of General Motors again. Charles W. Nash left GM. Durant saw Walter's great work at Buick, which was making more than half of GM's money. In 1916, Durant offered Walter the job of president of Buick with a huge salary of $500,000 a year. Walter agreed, but he wanted to be in charge of Buick without Durant always telling him what to do. Walter and Durant had very different ways of working. Walter liked order and careful plans. Durant was more impulsive and liked to change things often, even saying he changed policies just because he opened and closed his door. They had disagreements. Durant sold a Buick building without asking Walter. He also tried to hire some of Walter's best team members. During World War I, Walter led Buick to make many things for the war, like airplane engines and trucks. This helped GM and allowed Buick's factories to grow. By 1919, Walter was also a vice president for GM. He helped GM buy a big share in the Fisher Body Company to get better steel bodies for cars. But the problems with Durant became too much. Walter did not like Durant's plans to buy companies that made things like refrigerators or airplanes. He thought it was risky and made GM's money situation difficult. They had a final big argument about building a new factory. Walter felt he could not work with Durant anymore. In late 1919, Walter Chrysler resigned from General Motors. He was 44 years old. He had done amazing work at Buick and helped GM greatly. People who owned GM stock helped Walter sell his shares for about $10 million. Walter was now a millionaire. He was free to think about what he wanted to do next in the exciting world of cars. 5. Making his own car. Walter Chrysler was a success at Buick, but he wanted more. He wanted to make a car with his own name. First, he went to help a car company called Willys Overland. This company was in trouble. At Willys, Walter met 3 very good engineers. Their names were Fred Zeder, Owen Skelton, and Carl Breer. People called them ZSB for short. They were very talented. Walter and ZSB started to work on a new car. It was a 6-cylinder car. It had a new design for the engine and other parts. Walter dreamed this car would be called the Chrysler 6, but there were problems. The Willys Company still had big money problems. Because of these issues, the plan to make the new car at Willys stopped. Walter was sad, but he did not give up his dream. Later, bankers asked Walter to help another car company. This company was called Maxwell Chalmers. It was also struggling and needed help. Walter took over the job of making this company strong again. This was his chance. He brought the ZSB engineers and their design for the new car to Maxwell Chalmers. They started to build the Chrysler 6 car there. It was ready in 1923. The first Chrysler car had many new things. ZSB designed a special engine. It was a high-compression engine. This made the car fast and strong. The car also had new brakes. They were hydraulic brakes that used liquid. This was new for cars at that time and made the car safer. Walter finally had a car with his own name. 6. The Chrysler Company grows. The first car, called the Chrysler 6, came out in January of 1924. People liked this new car very much because it was modern and worked very well. It was a big success. In the first year, 32,000 cars were sold. This was a record for a new car brand. The success of the Chrysler 6 also made other car companies improve their own cars. The company that made the Chrysler car was still called Maxwell Motor Corporation. Because the Chrysler 6 was so popular and successful, the company changed its name. On June 6, 1925, it officially became the Chrysler Corporation. Walter Chrysler wanted his company to sell cars to more people at different prices. The Chrysler 6 was a high-quality car, but it cost more money than many families could spend. So the company also started selling the Chrysler 4. This car was an improved version of the older Maxwell car, but had the new Chrysler name. It cost less than the 6 and helped the company reach more buyers. Selling both the 6 and the 4 helped the new company grow faster. By the end of 1925, the company was doing very well and made a lot of money, over $17 million. Walter Chrysler had a big dream. He wanted his company to be one of the largest car companies in America. At that time, Ford and Chevrolet were the biggest because they made cars that most families could afford. Chrysler wanted to compete directly with them in this large market. The year 1928 was very important for the company's growth. Walter Chrysler made several big and brave decisions. In May, he created a new car brand called DeSoto. The DeSoto car was stylish and had a good 6-cylinder engine. It was planned to compete in the medium price range. The DeSoto was a success right away, with many dealers wanting to sell it and people buying over 81,000 cars in the first year. Then, in July of 1928, Chrysler Corporation made its biggest move. It bought the very large and important Dodge Brothers Company. Dodge made popular cars and trucks and had big factories and a large network of dealers. This was a huge purchase that cost around $170 million. Buying Dodge made Chrysler Corporation much bigger instantly. It became the third largest car company in the world, after Ford and General Motors. The company now had many more factories, workers, and sales locations across the country. Also in July 1928, Walter Chrysler introduced another new car brand. This car was called the Plymouth. The Plymouth car was designed to be strong, dependable, and affordable, made for ordinary families. It was Chrysler's direct challenge to Ford and Chevrolet in the low-priced car market. The Plymouth had advanced features for its price, like hydraulic brakes on all four wheels, which helped drivers stop more safely. With the Chrysler, DeSoto, Dodge, and Plymouth brands, Chrysler Corporation now offered cars at different price points, from lower cost to higher quality. This allowed the company to sell many more cars to many different people. To build all these cars, especially the new Plymouth, Chrysler built a very large new factory in Detroit very quickly in late 1928. By the end of that year, Chrysler Corporation had built 360,000 cars. These big steps in 1928 made Chrysler Corporation one of the big three car makers in America. The big three were Ford, General Motors, and now Chrysler. Walter Chrysler had quickly built a major car empire. His company was growing very fast and was now a very important player in the American car industry. 7. Hard times and big ideas. Walter Chrysler had a big dream outside of cars. He wanted to build a very tall building in New York City. This building was his own project, not for his car company. It was called the Chrysler Building and had a special modern style called Art Deco. It was finished and was one of the tallest buildings in the world for a short time. But in 1929, a very hard time started for the country. It was called the Great Depression. Many people lost their jobs and businesses had trouble. Selling cars became very hard for everyone, including Chrysler Corporation. People had less money to buy new things. Walter Chrysler believed in the future. Even in these hard times, he kept working on new car ideas. He put money into making cars better, especially the Plymouth car. The Plymouth got new things like floating power. This was a special way the engine was put in the car that made the ride much smoother. To sell the Plymouth, Chrysler used famous advertisements. One was called "Look at All Three." It asked people to compare the Plymouth car to the Ford and Chevrolet cars. These ads helped many people see that Plymouth was a good car for the money. Plymouth sales grew even when other car sales were low. In 1934, Chrysler made a very new car called the Airflow. It looked very different. It had a smooth shape like an airplane wing to go faster and ride better. This design was very modern and important for engineering. But many people did not like how the Airflow looked. It was too strange for them, so not many were sold. During the 1930s, many workers in America wanted better pay and safer jobs. They started forming groups called unions. In 1937, workers at Chrysler factories had a big strike. They did not leave the factories but sat down inside. This was a difficult time for the company and Walter Chrysler. 8. His last years and legacy. Walter Chrysler enjoyed life away from making cars. He owned a large farm in Maryland called Pokety, where he loved to hunt and entertain guests. He was known for being a strong man, sometimes gruff, but also very kind and generous. He often helped people and gave to communities. He understood the challenges faced by workers because he started his career working with his hands in railroad shops. His health declined after he had a stroke in 1938. This was a difficult time for him. Then, in August of that same year, his wife, Della, died. He had been married to her for many years and loved her very deeply. Her death was a great sadness, and he never fully recovered his health or energy after she was gone. Walter Chrysler passed away on August 18, 1940, at the age of 65. Many important business leaders and friends attended his funeral in New York. He was buried in a family building next to his wife. Today, Walter Chrysler is remembered as a giant of American industry. He was a brilliant engineer and a powerful leader. Starting with the basic tools he made himself as a young man, he built a major company, the Chrysler Corporation. He led the company through hard times, like the Great Depression, always focusing on making high-quality cars with new, smart ideas. His company quickly became one of the big three car makers in America, competing strongly with Ford and General Motors. He introduced many important features to cars, like hydraulic brakes and smooth engines, which made driving safer and more comfortable. He also built the famous Chrysler Building in New York City. This tall, beautiful building is still a symbol of his vision and his belief in progress. It was a personal project for him, showing his desire to leave a lasting mark. Even when his health was failing, he continued to guide his business. He was a director on important boards, sharing his engineering knowledge. He started the Chrysler Institute of Engineering to train future engineers. He also made sure his older workers were treated well. Walter Chrysler's legacy is about innovation, hard work, and leadership. He showed that a person from simple beginnings could achieve amazing things in America. His impact on the automobile industry and on the shape of American cities is still seen today. He was a symbol of American ingenuity and the spirit of building. What made Walter Chrysler's cars special in his time?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.